Hello and a very warm welcome to World's Panorama, a weekly roundup of major global events. I'm Sana Khan. Before we bring you detailed reports, here's a look at the top stories this week. Santorum clears the way for Mitt Romney to claim victory in the long battle for the Republican presidential nomination. It's Romney versus Obama now. Syria Ceasefire comes into effect. Kofi Annan urges troop withdrawal from towns and cities. North Korea's rocket launch fails. Satellite fails to enter orbit. US condemns the launch, calling it provocative. And cricketer Yuvraj Singh returns home after cancer therapy, confident of getting back to the field soon. Those were the top stories this week. Our focus is on the US presidential elections, which are finally getting closer and much more gripping. US Republican presidential hopeful Mitt Romney can now focus all his attention on President Barack Obama because in a dramatic development on Tuesday, his opponent, Rick Santorum, dropped out of the race, effectively conceding the party nomination to him. So here we go. This is the playing field between now and the election on the 6th of November. For the moment, it seems it's advantage President Obama. In the end, though, it will come down to the state of the US economy and whether a majority of voters believe the country is headed in the right direction and whether the president is deserving of re-election. What lies ahead in the battle? There's still some time, but the picture is getting clearer as the days pass by. And what should India be looking out for? How is the contest shaping up? Rather, how will its impact us back home are some of the key questions I will be putting out to our guest today, Mr. Pramit Pal Chaudhary, foreign editor for the Hindustan Times. Thanks so much, sir, for joining me here on World Panorama. Before we get to him, here's a look at this report.
US conservative Rick Santorum dropped out of the Republican presidential race on Tuesday after falling far behind frontrunner Mitt Romney. The former senator from Pennsylvania said he was suspending his campaign, but vowed the fight was not yet over.
We made a decision to get into this race at our kitchen table against all the odds. And we made a decision over the weekend that while this presidential race for us is over for me, and we will suspend our campaign effective today, we are not done fighting.
Santorum made his announcement after the weekend hospitalization of his 3-year-old daughter Isabel and in the face of tightening poll numbers in Pennsylvania, the state he represented as US Senator ahead of the 24th April primaries.
Senator Santorum has decided not to proceed with his campaign, and I had the chance to speak with him this morning. We exchanged our thoughts about going forward, and we both have a great deal of interest in seeing the country taken on a very different path. He has made an important contribution to the political process, has brought forward issues that he cares very deeply about.
The announcement effectively ends Santorum's bid to be the Republican who will face President Barack Obama in the November 6 general elections. Santorum was lagging Romney in opinion polls and in the fight for the 1,144 party delegates needed to win the nomination. As the race for the America's next president moves ahead, Santorum could now prove to be a valuable ally for Romney by helping deliver the party's Republican base, which harbors some distrust of the conservative credentials of the former Massachusetts governor.
Mr. Chaudhary, given the fact that what's going on within the Republican Party, do you agree with our report that if Santorum joins hands with Mitt Romney and, pledges him his delegates, about 287 odd delegates, then, the partnership can go a long way and actually Romney can give a tough competition to Obama?
Well, the point is Santorum's base was the Christian right, the religious fundamentalists. They were never going to vote for Obama anyway. Okay. The only thing that he can really deliver or attempt to deliver to Romney is to ensure that these people don't stay home during the election, but actually come out and vote. Okay. But they would never vote for the Democrats. Their positions are too far apart. So the game really for Romney is that a lot of this, the Santorum's base, distrusts Romney. One, because he's a Mormon, which is a type of Christian sect which is distrusted or seen as heretical by traditional Christians. And second, his political record is extremely moderate. He's a moderate Republican. And he's seen too left of center for a lot of Santorum's base. So the question really, can Santorum get his people to actually vote for Romney? They won't vote for Obama, but will they actually come out and vote? That's the question.
Right. Now, he has to mobilize his vote base to go and give support if he has to support Mitt Romney. But now, as we're talking in our report about how the fight is now clearly between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, what are the challenges that lie ahead of Mitt Romney, more to say, because he has to really work hard to build up his women voter base and also woo Hispanic voters?
Yes, I think Romney's core problem will be that he's, one, as I mentioned, too moderate for most Republicans. He's as I said, a moderate Republican. He's voted in favor of things like health care and so on, which state-sponsored health care, which most Republicans dislike. He comes from Massachusetts, a very liberal state, very left liberal state, and he's, as I said, a Mormon. So his problem will be to ensure that his own party, core supporters in his own party will come out for him. At the same time, though, he has to win the independent vote, the so-called one-third of the vote that's between the Republicans and the Democrats. They're moderate by instinct. They actually like Romney, but if he moves too close to them, he may lose his own base. So he has to be able to navigate between these two groups. The other problem that he faces will be money. Obama has had to spend no money whatsoever so far because his own intra-party race was always decided. He was the only candidate. So he hasn't had to spend anything. Romney, on the other hand, has already burnt through probably close to $20 million of his of Republican money to get to where he is now. So he will actually have to begin from scratch and raise money after he officially gets the Republican nomination later in spring, while Obama will effectively have $20 million ready sitting that he can add plus whatever more he gets afterwards.
Right.
And that's going to be a big factor in any U.S. election.
Absolutely. So let's come about the issues over here now. You mentioned some of the challenges that Mitt Romney has to face, but as far as the economy is concerned, that's something where Barack Obama will really have to come up with something innovative to convince the voters to vote for him.
There's no doubt about that. I think on almost every poll that you see, Romney versus Obama, personality, leadership, who do you trust? Obama beats Romney. The only issue really where they are neck and neck is the economy. But unfortunately for Obama, if you look at the polls, again, 4 out of the top 5 issues for American voters are economic, jobs, and so on and so forth. So the economy is Obama's weak point. And that was where Romney is going to keep striking at him, because Romney is going to argue that he's a successful businessman, and that he has a solution that Obama does not to the U.S. economy. And that's where the bulk of the fighting is going to revolve around, because it's 7 months is still a long way to go.
Absolutely.
And Obama's weakness is going to be exactly that.
All right. So as you mentioned, 7 months to go, a lot of time really at hand for both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. Do you think perhaps Mitt Romney would use this time to, re-strategize, reconsider a few of his steps that he's taken till now? What do you think he will do?
Well, he'll probably look for issues to fight with Obama, to distinguish himself from Obama, but more importantly, to show to his Republican base, to the right wing of his party, that he is not the moderate that they think he is. So he'll choose a fight, or let's say abortion or something like that, to fight with Obama on to distinguish himself, to mobilize his base. He'll also start to reposition himself, on the other hand, on a lot of other issues with independent voters. So that to argue that in that case, he'll have to sort of say that Obama and it's really a competence issue, not an issue, not the issue of ideology. And I'm more competent than him on the basis of what my past record is.
But do you think then this is going to be more about Mitt Romney as a candidate? It's going to be about him rather than about the president and the key issues at hand over here? Because do you think if he's going to make this fight about him, he's going to lose out eventually?
Well, I think he's going to make a fight. It's going to be a fight. See, in many ways, Romney and Obama are very similar. They come from moderate backgrounds. They come from northeastern states. They're both self-made men. They have no particular, their personal lives are immaculate. They have no scandals. Their family life is perfect. They're both highly educated. So in many ways, they're two ideal candidates. And if you're, let's say, a middle-class voter, you're looking at either of these would be a good candidate for me. So what are you going to be fighting about then? You're going to be fighting about your vision of where the country should be or should be going. Though Obama and getting Romney are actually very similar among all the Republican candidates. He's probably closest to Obama in terms of his vision. So my view is that the battle is going to be about competence, that he's going to hammer away that I'm a successful CEO, I'm a businessman.
Right.
I'm a business management professional who's done and successfully run corporations and states. Obama is in charge of the United States, president, but are you happy with the state of the economy? No. Record unemployment, stagnant economic growth. I'm the man who can run the country better than him.
Right. Mr. Chaudhary, let's come to India now. Now, it's kind of a tricky question here and too early perhaps to ask, but who out of the two, policy-wise, do you think is going to be best suited for India at this point?
We don't know that much about Romney's foreign policy because foreign policy has not been part of the debate, almost none. It's been almost completely for domestic policy issues. And so Romney has said very little about foreign policy. So we don't know where he stands on a lot of issues. However, traditionally, or right now at least, the Indian system prefers Republicans. They tend to be more hostile to China. Though to be fair, I think Obama, who became very friendly to China in his first year, has now switched his policy and become much more hardline. Romney, has committed, at least publicly, that he will keep American troops in Afghanistan, which we broadly would prefer. We continue to fear that an American withdrawal will lead to a Taliban victory, which is not in our interest. But again, Obama himself, while he said troop withdrawal, we now know that he's planning to keep 20 to 30,000 troops even to the final bitter end. So his withdrawal is not a complete withdrawal. And it's questionable whether Romney was prepared to go beyond that 30,000 troops. But I think on economic issues, we would prefer Republicans. They're more free trade. They have no problems with outsourcing, which is a constant Democratic problem. And so broadly, but on the other hand, we've had no real problems with Obama. The relationship is drifting in the U.S. relationship, but that's because of domestic problems both in India and the United States. I don't think it has to do with any fundamental differences.
So the picture is still forming. We have about 7 months to go. Yeah. Thanks so much, Mr. Chaudhary, for joining me here on this show today on World Panorama. So it's going to get a lot more exciting. It's a direct contest between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. We'll really have to wait and watch out for who emerges, who manages to woo America and takes on the position of the next American president. Time for a short break now, but wait up for a detailed report on Pakistan president's visit to India coming up right after this short break. Thanks for staying with us. China's Communist Party suspended former high-flying politician Bo Xilai from its top ranks on Tuesday. The same day, his wife Bo Xilai was named a suspect in the murder of a British businessman. The scandal is the biggest political upheaval in China since the General Secretary Zhao Jiang was ousted following the Tiananmen democracy protests back in 1989. It comes months before a once-a-decade leadership transition. Here's more. High-flying Communist Party of China leader Bo Xilai has been stripped of his membership of the powerful 25-member Politburo and the 300-member Central Committee. Communist officials say that this action is a result of disciplinary violations committed by Bo Xilai. In a deepening political scandal, his wife Bo Xilai has been named a suspect in the November 2011 homicide of British businessman Neil Haywood. China's state news agency says that Bo and his wife have been detained by authorities.
I welcome this announcement from the Chinese authorities. I decided a few weeks ago to ask China to reopen its investigations into the death of Neil Haywood. So I'm pleased they are doing as we asked them to do, and we now look forward to seeing the outcome of these investigations.
Bo's wife, Bo Xilai, has been transferred to the judicial authorities along with Zhang Jiajun, an orderly who worked for the Bo family. This is the biggest political scandal to have hit China in years. It has not only ended Bo Xilai's political hopes, but has also destroyed the possibility of a smooth, once-in-a-decade Chinese leadership transition slated for later this year. And a ceasefire has come into force in Syria amid doubts expressed by Western countries about the government's willingness to stick to it. The truce appears to be largely holding, with no reports of casualties or deaths so far. However, there were some reports of shelling and firing in the early hours. Here's a report. Syrian troops held their fire after a UN-backed ceasefire took effect at dawn on Thursday, casting a silence over rebellious towns they had bombarded heavily in recent days. There are no reports of any major violence so far, even as the government troops are still holding on to their positions. But the lull did little to convince opposition activists and Western powers of President Bashar al-Assad's good faith in observing a peace plan.
He gave so many promises before, so it's not easy to believe him now. It's a matter of wait and see. We will wait and see what is going to happen, and then we will judge. It's premature now to judge his intentions, but from what we have before, from our experience with him and his regime before, we don't think he will abide by it.
The Syrian government and the armed opposition have both said they will abide by the ceasefire but reserve the right to respond if attacked. Syrian Foreign Minister told media that what is important is everybody should abide by the terms of calm. Kofi Annan is asking cessation of violence by all parties, not only the Syrian government. International community has welcomed the development and hope that the issues will be resolved at the earliest.
China welcomes the Syrian government's decision. We believe this will help to ease tensions. It is an important step towards political resolution and a sign that Annan's mediation efforts have achieved progress.
Basically, the ICRC and the Syrian Red Crescent were able to reach many areas affected by the unrest. If, obviously, a ceasefire was implemented today, this will help us to continue doing our job in an easier, hopefully, manner.
Annan's plan calls for the withdrawal of forces from urban areas, a halt to fighting, a daily 2-hour humanitarian truce, the release of arbitrarily detained people, freedom of movement for journalists and the right to demonstrate. The ceasefire will be monitored by UN observers and then talks will follow. Now, terrorism was at the top of the talks between Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in New Delhi. Manmohan Singh told the Pakistani president that India would judge the progress in ties with action on terror, most specifically on Hafiz Saeed. Here's a report.
A visit by a Pakistani head of state to India in 7 years. A visit that was termed private. But with Asif Ali Zardari accepting a lunch invitation from Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, there was much speculation about what would dominate those talks. As expected, India raised the issue of terrorism. Manmohan Singh told President Zardari that it was imperative to bring the perpetrators of 26/11 to justice and also put an end to all anti-India activities from Pakistani soil.
The leaders discussed the problem of terrorism, which is a major issue. In this context, PM also mentioned the activities of Hafiz Saeed. President Zardari said the matter needed to be discussed further between the two governments.
We've had some very fruitful bilateral talks together. India and Pakistan are neighbors. We would like to have better relations with India. We've spoken on all topics that we could have spoken about.
The issue will be discussed in further detail when the Home Secretaries of the two countries meet next month. And the issue of Pak inaction against Hafiz Saeed will definitely come up. Zardari also discussed the issues of Kashmir, Siachen and Sir Creek at the meeting with Manmohan Singh.
Discuss with him all bilateral issues, and I am very satisfied with the outcome of this visit.
President Zardari has also extended an invitation to the Prime Minister to visit Pakistan soon.
President Zardari has also invited me to visit Pakistan. I would be very happy to visit Pakistan on a mutually convenient date.
Zardari and Manmohan's talks also focused on the need for people-to-people contact between the two countries. And in this regard, the visa regulations between the two countries could be eased. An agreement in this direction will be signed during the Home Secretaries' meet.
With that, time for a very short break. Lots of exciting news up ahead. In the entertainment world, we will talk about the unique unison of Broadway and basketball. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. Let's now take a look at some of the other international news in our next report.
Defying warnings from the international community, North Korea launched a long-range rocket on Friday, but it broke apart before escaping the Earth's atmosphere and fell into the sea. South Korea and the US said the Yuna-3 rocket blasted off at 7:39 a.m. local time, but blew apart after about 90 seconds, sending the shattered fuselage into the Yellow Sea. North Korean state media said it failed to deliver a satellite into space and that technicians were investigating the cause. The United States and the neighboring countries condemned the launch, as well as an unusual admission of failure from Pyongyang, which had invited in journalists and space experts from around the world for the occasion. North Korea named its young leader Kim Jong-un as first chairman of the ruling National Defense Commission at a meeting of its assembly on Friday, capping a rise to power in the reclusive state after the sudden death of his father in December. Kim Jong-il, who ruled the country as the chairman of the powerful military commission until he died, would remain its chairman for eternity. North Korea also unveiled two enormous statues of its former leaders Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-sun in the capital Pyongyang. The massive statues were revealed in a lavish ceremony attended by large crowds, including current leader Kim Jong-un. Afghan President Hamid Karzai said that he was considering calling early presidential elections next year in an effort to take advantage of the coalition military presence. Karzai, who's set to end his second 5-year term in 2014, said such an early polls would help Afghanistan avoid conducting a political campaign after the US-led coalition forces transfer security responsibilities and head home. Egypt's parliament has passed a bill that strips senior figures of ousted President Hosni Mubarak's regime of their political rights for 10 years. The vote was designed to stop Mubarak's former spy chief and vice president Omar Suleiman from running in next month's presidential election. The law would only come into effect if the military council that took over from Mubarak when he stepped down last year ratifies it. A tsunami warning had been issued in the Indian Ocean after powerful earthquakes struck Indonesia, prompting evacuations from coastal regions. The first quake was measured at 8.6 magnitude according to US Geological Survey. The initial quake had struck at a depth of 33 kilometers.
So gear up for our next report. It's all about bringing you up to speed with the latest from the sports world. Here's all the sports action. World number 10 Serena Williams marked her first final appearance in 7 months by winning the 40th WTA title of her career at Charleston. The 30-year-old beat Czech Lucy Safarova 6-0, 6-1 in just 58 minutes at the Clay Court Family Circle Cup tournament on Sunday. Williams is the third person to reach the milestone following her sister Venus and Kim Clijsters. It was Williams' first final since her US Open defeat by Samantha Stosur. Masters champion Bubba Watson said he had never dreamed of winning the tournament following his dramatic playoff victory over Louis Oosthuizen. American Watson beat his South African rival on the second extra hole to secure his first major title. Watson fired 4 birdies in a row from the 13th, but missed a birdie putt to win in regulation. Oosthuizen was unable to find the putting surface with his second. Watson pulled out an extravagant hook to find the center of the green. Oosthuizen's chip ran to the back of the green and he took 2 more to get down for a bogey, leaving Watson with 2 putts for the title. Cricketer Yuvraj Singh returned to India after 3 months after undergoing treatment for cancer in a US hospital. Doctors say he is expected to make a full recovery and resume his cricket career. Yuvraj Singh also told media that he is planning to pen down the experience and a change in his thought process during the treatment for cancer in the United States. A number of Formula One teams expect the Bahrain Grand Prix to be called off amid security reasons caused by civil unrest in the country. F1 boss Bernie Ecclestone said no teams had expressed concerns to him but suggested the race's contract may not be renewed. A statement released earlier from the Formula One Teams Association said it was down to the FIA to cancel the race. The teams are due to meet Ecclestone in China over the coming few days. And talking about showbiz, this week saw your favorite movie stars and entertainment gurus making news as well. Here's all the buzz.
Hit musical adaptation The Lion King has become the highest earning show in Broadway history, according to figures released by its producers Disney. The musical has earned $853.8 million since opening in 1997. Its closest rival, The Phantom of the Opera, has made $853.1 million. The show, based on Disney's 1994 animated film, surged ahead of the longer-running production over the Easter weekend. Phantom is still the longest-running show in Broadway history, chalking up more than 10,000 performances and 14.8 million tickets sold. Basketball legends Irvin Magic Johnson of the Los Angeles Lakers and Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics are now the subjects of a new Broadway play called Magic Bird, which gives the audience a peek inside their unique friendship. Much of the dialogue addresses serious American cultural currents that bubble beneath the ebony and ivory rivalry between the African-American Johnson and the white bird. The play is written by Eric Simonson, directed by Thomas Scale, and produced by Tony Ponturo and Fran Kumzer. Ponturo said the group is considering future productions about other characters of sports history. Action film The Hunger Games has topped the US box office for the third week in a row with takings now in excess of $300 million. The movie, which stars Oscar nominee Jennifer Lawrence, held off competition from Titanic 3D and the new American Pie films to stay at #1. Based on Suzanne Collins' novel, it follows a girl who is forced to take part in a televised fight to the death. Globally, the film has made $460 million while its budget was just $78 million. Veteran journalist Mike Wallace, famed for his tough interviews on US news program 60 Minutes over 4 decades, died aged 93. Wallace was one of the original hosts of 60 Minutes when it began in 1968. He interviewed the likes of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X and Yasser Arafat before announcing his retirement in 2006. A host of celebrities were also subjects, including Janis Joplin, Hugh Hefner, Tina Turner, Salvador Dali and Barbara Streisand. In almost 40 years on 60 Minutes, Wallace worked on some 800 investigative reports.
Well, that's all from me in this edition of World Panorama. I'll see you same time next week with more world news. For now, I leave you with these exciting visuals. Literally, people in Germany celebrated Easter Sunday outdoors by testing their strength in the annual egg throwing competition. Thanks for watching and have a good day.